Hello everyone, Bashar here. We are together with Legends of Runeterra video. First of all, I would like to show off my achievement here. So, turns out Riot has been holding back a surprise and the game actually had ranking in there. I mean, we thought we were playing casual all the time, but secretly they were actually running their ranking algorithm, and turns out I ended up in top 100. The other people you see here are Turkish as well. You might have noticed if you follow Twitch, we have switched back to Turkish for a while. So I'm not really sure if I'm back to Turkish for good or I'll switch back to English, but I will try to keep up the YouTube channel. So I want to show you the real deck behind this success, behind this top 100. So thing is, I didn't know that they were running the ranking algorithm. I didn't go full try hard. I kept switching decks. I think I had like 5 decks and not all of them are as powerful as the main real deck. So this video will be about highlighting that deck, which is here. This deck combines Freljord's good units with Freljord good units and acceleration, mana acceleration, with Shadow Isles denial. So Shadow Isles has a lot of top quality denial. As you can see, there are not many followers, there are not many units in the deck. So let's take a look at the spells. Well, the spells from the Shadow Isles are mainly denials, as you can see. Deals 1 damage to your unit, heals you by 1, and it gives you a 1/1 spider link, and it's fast. You can use it in combat or you can use it in response to something that your opponent does. This deals 1 damage to all enemy minions and all enemy units, doesn't include the player, and heals you by 1 for 5 mana. It might look a little too expensive, guys, but always remember that there is a thing called spell mana in Legends of Runeterra. So I mean, if you are comparing it with Hearthstone, for cheap spells, they are probably similar to Hearthstone. For mid-priced spells, 4 or higher, you can safely deduce 1 mana from the cost. I mean, if it's 4 mana in Legends of Runeterra, it's kind of like a 3 mana spell. In Hearthstone, a 5 mana spell is like 4 mana or even maybe cheaper spell, and the expensive spells can be considered as 2 to 3 mana cheaper than Hearthstone, because as you know, unspent mana, up to 3 unspent mana, accumulates in your mana pool as spell mana, and you can actually do something much earlier than expected when you compare it to Hearthstone. Then we have the 5 mana 3 damage lifesteal, drain 3 ability. So for example, if you compare this card with Hearthstone, this card is 2 mana in Hearthstone. However, there are some differences, guys. Like I said, the spell mana makes this like 3.5 mana or something like that. I mean, 4 definitely, but 3 will be too cheap, so that's why I'm saying 3.5 mana. I know fractions of mana doesn't exist, and the thing is, this card is fast, guys. I mean, you cannot really translate this into Hearthstone, because in Hearthstone you cannot really do something on your opponent's turn. I mean, your secrets can trigger or something like that, but you cannot actively do anything during your opponent's turn. So like I said, the denials are a little bit weaker in Legends of Runeterra, so this card is decent. And then we have this Wondrous card. This is insane. This is very good. This is Assassinate, but guys, it's fast. So considering it's 7 mana, this is kind of like 5 mana in Hearthstone. And as I was saying, it's fast. So for example, your opponent attacked and the pump effect on that minion is gonna do huge face damage. You say boom, vengeance. This is the card that makes Shadow Isles playable. It's very good. And then we have the Twisting Nether effect. Kills everything. So there's a huge difference between Vengeance and Ruination, guys. I mean, I know one of them clears the entire board and one of them kills just one minion, but slow and fast matters a lot, guys, because you can actually play around Ruination. Thing is, for example, your opponent attacked, played some stuff, you played some stuff, and when it's your turn to attack, if you declare your attack immediately without playing anything, then your opponent cannot play Ruination. That's very important, because it's slow and slow cards cannot be played during the attack. So if you are suspecting that your opponent has Ruination in the deck and you have already a good attack, do not be greedy, do not play anything, because if you play a unit or a slow spell, your opponent is given the option to play a slow spell as well. For example, you play the 5/5 and the opponent says, okay, Ruination, you just lost. So just dive into attack immediately if it's good enough. And we have the 12-mana spell here. It summons the top unit from your deck right away and at the beginning of each turn. And at the beginning of each turn is much stronger than in Hearthstone in the Magic, because, guys, whoever attacks counts as one turn, one round. So I played this, I brought a minion on board, I say go to my opponent, and it's my opponent's turn to attack, boom, I get another unit. He attacks, he says go, boom, I get another unit. And as you can imagine, the average minion in this deck, the average unit in this deck is powerful. We have some cheap stuff, you will see. So how do we play this, guys? It's play with spell mana, because as you know, max mana allowed is 10. However, we are also allowed to have up to 3 spell mana. So in order to play this card, you either have to 9 max mana and 3 spell mana, or 10 max mana and 2 spell mana. Other than that, it is impossible to play. But as you can see, it's very, very good. So we have the good old loot order here, 2 mana 2/1. When we die, draws us a card. It's free, basically, and it delays your opponent's mid-game, early game tempo. So it's nice, because this deck is relatively vulnerable in the early game. This card is a little broken, guys. The 2 mana 0/3, and at the beginning of every turn gives you 1 extra mana. But that mana is temporary. So this works like Wild Growth, or more similarly, it's like Darkness Aspirant. 2 mana 2/3 gives you a mana crystal, and when it dies, takes that mana crystal back from you. Thing is, if you compare it with Hearthstone, there is actually a 2 mana 2/3 card that does this, right? Darkness Aspirant is very similar to this card. Problem is, though, guys, when you're comparing stuff, you have to be sure that you're taking everything into account. So in Hearthstone and in Legends of Runeterra, attack mechanics are different. In Hearthstone, you are actually allowed to attack anything that you can, unless there's a taunt in the way. So, however, in Legends of Runeterra, you cannot attack wherever you want. So you attack the player, and the defending player decides if he should block or not, unless you have a challenger or something. So if you attack me with a 3/2, for example, I will just take that face damage instead of losing my Weirding Stones. That's the problem. So they have to kill this on their own. No one would block with this, right? So they have to kill this with their denials. And thing is, as you can see, the denials are extremely weaker compared to Hearthstone. In Hearthstone, there are a zillion cards that could kill this, right? Forbidden Words, Shallow Word Pain, Frostbolt, I don't know, Flame Cannon, blah 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 blah. I mean, there are 1,000 different cards that can kill this. In here, I think I saw just like one card. There is a card that is very similar to Forbidden Flame, and that's the only one that can kill it in the early game. That's the problem. So this card is a little bit above curve. I mean, it might be nerfed. It's a little too good. I also skipped these two, right? Yeah, sorry about that. We have Avalanche, deals 2 damage to everything. Well, if you compare it with Consecration or Hellfire in Hearthstone, guys, it might look very bad. But thing is, like I said, there's the spell mana, right? You can actually play this on turn 3 very easily. In order to do that in Hearthstone, you need some cheapening method or the coin or something like that. This card can be played on turn 3 100% of the time with this deck. Deals 2 to everything. That includes the players, like I said, so it's very similar to Hellfire. We have the acceleration card here. Gives you an empty mana crystal like Wild Growth and heals you by 3. Good thing about this card is, guys, it's a burst card. It's not even fast, so your opponent cannot really respond. So for example, your opponent beat you down to 1 or 2, let's say, and you're suspecting that they have some sort of direct damage card. You play Catalyst of the Eons, heal by 3, they cannot even respond. I mean, normally if you play a healing card, they would be able to respond with their direct damage in their hand and they would kill you. However, Catalyst of Aeons prevents that. I mean, in the early game it's obvious, it's ramping, it's accelerating, but in the late game the heal also helps. So next up we have the Avarosun Hard card. This card is in almost all of the Freljord decks. It's a very, very good card, guys. 5 mana, 5/6, very decent, and it gives you the minions in your deck +1/+1. For those of you who play Hearthstone, it's a Prince Kele set that always works. Thing is, there's one small difference. In Legends of Runeterra, Battle Cry and when it comes into play have been separated. There are cards that say Battle Cry, I mean when you play me from your hand, which is represented as with a play keyword, and some cards just work whenever they enter the game, no matter the method. I mean, you can put it into play from your hand, you can resurrect it from your dead pool, you can put it into the game from your deck. So everything works with this guy. So 5 mana, 5/6, and gives all units in your deck +1/+1. It's very, very good. So this card might need some rework as well. And this is the best card in the entire game. So it's a 9 mana 10/10. It regenerates, and I would like to remind you again, the regeneration is much, much stronger than it is in Hearthstone and Magic. In Hearthstone, it's very weak. In Magic, it works differently. I mean, you actually have to pay mana to regenerate the minion. And in here, since passing the turn to your opponent marks the beginning of a new turn, the monster immediately regenerates. So for example, guys, She Who Wanders attacks. The opponent blocks with a 8/8. She Who Wanders goes down to 10/2. And when you say go, if your opponent doesn't do anything, 10/10 instantly. So, as you know, there are similar cards in Hearthstone, and if it goes down to 10/2, it will stay that way during your opponent's turn as well. So, for example, if your opponent attacks with a 2-attack minion into this, it just dies. It's not like that in here. So, let's talk about the play effect, because that's the one that makes this card the most powerful card in the game. So, play means playing from your hand. This is the exact version of Battle Cry in Legends of Runeterra. This has to come into play somehow. Doesn't really matter how. And this has to be played from the hand. And Obliterate is the keyword that only appears on She Who Wanders. Obliterate means completely removing from game, not including them in the dead minion pools, so they cannot be resurrected. Their last breath effects, their death rattle effects do not work, and this does it. This effect does this to all units with 4 or less attack in game and in hands. So guys, this is just too much. I mean, you win. That's how I describe this card. You play this, your opponent has 3 minions with 4 or less attack. They get removed from the game entirely. They cannot be resurrected. Their last effects do not trigger. And then you also remove them from the game from my opponent's hand as well. So don't get me wrong, this card also removes yours as well. But guys, we are not playing many units with 4 or less attack, and you can actually time this to be. So for example, you attack with Avarosan Sentry, draw your card, then play She-Who Wanders. That's a play as well. And once you play She-Who Wanders, I mean, these do not really matter too much. I mean, you don't need really mana because you already have 9 mana. So you can lose your Weirding Stones. It's not a big deal. So, for example, guys, in a regular card game, if you suspect your opponent to have something that will clear the board, you can hold some stuff in your hand to have some more juice even after your opponent clears the board. For example, if you're suspecting Flame Strike, you keep your small minions in your hand and make your opponent play Flame Strike, then swarm the board with small minions again. This doesn't work against She-Who Wanders because she also removes from the hand as well. This card definitely needs a nerf. It's extreme. And as for champions, we have Shadow Isles, Freljord champions. We have Anivia, 6 mana 4/3, can't block. Whenever she attacks, deals 1 damage to all enemies. That includes the enemy player as well. And when she dies, she comes back as a 0/1 egg. And if that 0/1 egg survives the turn, she gets upgraded. Can we see how she works here? Oh yes, we can. Look. Yeah. So that's the egg. So if you attack with the 4/3 and it dies, comes back as this egg. And if your opponent cannot kill this egg, it gets upgraded into this. Goes into a 5/4. Whenever it attacks, deals 2 damage to all enemies, and comes back as an egg as well if it dies. One thing, guys, this effect, I mean the effect that occurs when Anivia attacks, is a little bit interesting. It goes into stack, so to speak, and your opponent can actually block before the Glacial Storm resolves. So if your opponent has 1 health minions, they will just block you and you will not be able to do damage. I think that's a little bit weird. It shouldn't be that way. And Anivia's signature card is Frostbites 2 enemies. Yeah. And it's a burst card, guys. That's very nice. So your opponent cannot really respond. The opponent attacks. You play your burst card, then say okay. Then he has to hit your face without playing anything else. And they will be 0 attack. Blah, blah. And let's go back to Tryndamere. Tryndamere is probably the best hero card in the game right now. Might need the nerf. It's a little bit too good. 8 mana 8 for Overwhelm. So the excess damage is transferred to your opponent's face. And his level up condition is dying. So if he somehow dies, he levels up. And for example, you can trigger this with Ruination yourself, if you like. And when they level up, they do not get removed from combat. For example, guys, if you remember from Magic and Hearthstone, if you transform into some other creature minion, I mean, you are not able to attack. That doesn't work like that here. If Tryndamere levels up, he actually does his damage that turn. And the upgraded version is Fearsome. has overwhelm again, and also has tough, and it's a 9/9. So this is probably one of the best heroes, and his signature spell is +8 +4 burst. So considering its burst, you don't need to be afraid of your opponent responding. Like I said, I mean, you just play this. For example, you play this on a 1 health minion, and your opponent cannot just do, I am doing just 1 damage to it and I'm killing it. No, that doesn't work. Since the spell is burst, it doesn't work. So guys, this is the deck. Probably everyone in the list did top 100 with. I played this around 95% win rate or something like that, but I was winning so much I actually got bored and tried some other decks. I didn't know about the rating, so it should have around 95% win rate if you're playing it correctly, and it's not extremely hard to pilot. Thing is though, it's a little too good at the moment, and once the game comes back in 1.5 weeks or so, I'm suspecting that She Who Wanders, Avarason hard cards, some stuff will be nerfed probably, because it's just too good. Like I said, I mean, no deck can compete with this. I mean, you can of course always lose, it's a card game, you can have a bad draw or something like that, but nothing is on par with this deck. I mean, if there was a meta list, this would be like 10% above the second best deck, so at least. So it kind of needs a nerf. Some cards are just too popular and too powerful. So the Avarason hard card, She Who Wanders, Trindamir, and Weirding Stones, I think, are the broken cards here. So that's the deck. I will also include the deck's code in the description. I cannot really put up any footage of me playing it because the streams were in Turkish. So, but if you want, I will upload some video of this deck to the Turkish channel as well. You can check it out there if you don't mind the Turkish audio. Anyways, if you have any questions about the deck, guys, feel free to ask. I think I played around 200 games or something like that. So I can probably answer if you have any questions. See you, bye bye.